Hello, Carissa here. Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to give an update because I've had a couple of comments on this channel, and it was a reinforcement that I have been severely neglecting it. I've had a little bit of chaos come my way, and yeah, it's just been a little crazy. So I believe in my last video, I was still working at the long-term care facility. I did end up moving on from there to the hospital. I really struggled with the long hours. Most of my shifts were probably 13 hours, sometimes 14 or 15, depending on the day. And I don't know if it was just my personality or inexperience, but it was a lot for me. So I think if maybe I cared a little bit less about things or was a more experienced nurse, I probably would have done okay there. But it was just a little bit too much for me, especially with something that I don't want this to sound snotty, but I didn't have to have that job. So it was just a lot. I loved everyone I worked with. I liked the patients, but I really just did not feel like I could provide the quality of care that I wanted to provide. So I ended up quitting and going to the hospital. And I loved my time at the hospital. It was wonderful. And I didn't want to leave there, but I actually quit that as well. So I started out with orientation on days, and then at our particular hospital, you are required to start on med surge. And if you're an LPN, basically you can only be on med surge. And then you are required to start on night shift, and scheduling is based on seniority, including moving to days. So I knew that I would be going into night shift, but I didn't know that I would be getting pregnant. So back in December, I ended up getting pregnant and starting night shift for the first time in my entire life. I'm not a night person, so I figured the adjustment would be difficult, but being pregnant while doing it was a lot for me. I was super nauseous, I was exhausted, and there's always the anxiety about COVID, which amplifies when you're pregnant. So it was just a lot, and I really struggled with it. I unfortunately ended up miscarrying. And while it was difficult, I physically felt better, and I was starting to adjust a night shift and felt that I could handle it a little bit better. But there was still a little bit too much chaos for me because with a seniority based shift, I never really knew what I would be getting. We did kind of schedule out our whole month, but when you're on the bottom of the totem pole, you kind of pick up what's left over. So I feel like if I could have had 3 days in a row and they were the same days of the week, night shift would have been okay. And I would have adjusted to it eventually. But with how chaotic it was, I never felt like I left work because frequently I would be working maybe, let's say, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like that, where it was really spread out, and I just never felt like I was getting a break. I really did enjoy the day shift there, and I think I got some good experience. But on night shift, I started to feel like even after only 5 months there, I was kind of maxing out my skill set because at night you don't have as much going on. Big surprise. A lot of people are sleeping. Not everybody. There's still stuff that happens. You still have to do treatments. There's still nursing responsibilities. But there is less that you can see because the doctors aren't there. So there's less treatments to observe. And a lot of stuff just waits until the morning. So I didn't feel like I was really being challenged by the end of my time there. And apparently our town needs a detox facility because there were a lot of people in med surg for withdrawal. And while we definitely need to help people like that, I didn't feel like the med surg floor was a proper place to treat withdrawals. And it's, I think it's also difficult because you're not really experienced or trained to deal with people that are aggressive or maybe have a mental illness that is a little bit out of control. It's just a lot for someone inexperienced to deal with those things and to know what to do. I got asked to help out in the ER one night, and the person they call it sitting because you're a babysitter. The person that I was observing ended up running, and one of the nurses asked me why I let her go, and I was like, nobody told me what to do. I was just told to sit here and watch her. Like, did you want me to trip her on her way out the door? Okay. I didn't know if she had an order to stay in the ER. Like, it was just, it was interesting. So, yes, I thought it was a really cool experience being at the hospital, and I loved it. The patient load was good. We usually had 3 patients, and maxed out at 4 because we didn't very often have, they were doing away with CNAs. Apparently in their older models, they had you take 5 or 6 patients, but you had CNAs there to help. So we did total care. That was hard for me because I've been a CNA before and I have really bad back problems. And as much as I want to be the person that can help with everything, I just can't. And I push myself and I lift people that I shouldn't, and I do things that I shouldn't, and I always pay for it later. So that part I struggled with. But doing total cares means you do everything. So you would take orders and bring food and take food out of the room and chart fluids and assist to the restroom and change briefs and linens and all that stuff in addition to your other nursing duties. Apparently there are other hospitals where the nurses just do nursing, so assessment and then treatments. Sometimes we would even do lab draws if the lab got too busy, and put IVs in. I didn't really do any IVs because I didn't have training, and I've only done one ever. So I didn't really get to do much practice with that, which was unfortunate, but I did enjoy all of the things that I learned. I felt that at this particular hospital, there were, not everybody, but there were some people that looked down on LPNs. And I was pretty shocked. Maybe it's my age and coming into nursing later in life and my background, but I quite honestly didn't expect it. I guess if you look online, there is stuff about LPNs not being respected or people looking down on them or saying they're not real nurses or whatever. I don't know. I try and take the internet with a grain of salt. And I didn't really expect it to be a thing, but apparently it is. There was one individual in particular who told me and a few of my classmates in a public environment that LPNs aren't real nurses. And we thought that this person was joking, but later confronted them and found out they were not joking. So I was really disappointed with that attitude because on our med-surg floor, the only thing that you didn't do was push IVs. And it takes a few minutes to push an IV, whereas I would spend almost an hour helping RNs change their patients' linens or briefs. So I didn't feel like people looking down on me for not being able to push IVs was equivalent to the work that I helped other people with. I really didn't understand it. I was very disappointed by that attitude because I thought with it being a smaller hospital, it would be more of like a family environment. And I just found that sad. And I really don't respect people that only believe in pedigree, because I've just, I know that it doesn't mean anything. I feel like my parents were really excited that I went to a private school on a full ride scholarship, and I always got good grades, and I have a multitude of achievements behind me. I've been accepted into, I actually have half of an MBA. I've been accepted into an MSW program. But it doesn't mean anything. Like what is meaningful in life is the value that you contribute to what you're doing. So an LPN that works harder and provides better patient care is more valuable than a BSN that doesn't give a shit. So it really bugs me. It bugs me a lot. I shouldn't be so fired up about it, but it really, really bothers me. And, as far as money too, I've met plenty of people, including myself, that have higher degrees and make way less than people without degrees. And just because you don't have a degree or you have a lesser education is valuable, but it doesn't mean necessarily that it makes you smarter or better than other people. So if you are an LPN and you run into that attitude, they can just shove it where the sun don't shine, because trust me, you are a real nurse as an LPN. And if you end up working in a long-term care facility, you will find out real fast that you're a real nurse. And my time there, as hard as it was, I will always be grateful for it, like always, because it pushed me in ways I did not expect. And although I spent the first month probably crying after every shift, by the end of my time there, I really did feel like a real nurse. And I felt like I could walk circles around some people at the hospital. I'm not saying that I knew better than them, because I don't. I'm a new nurse and there's a lot that I need to learn. But as far as time management and patient satisfaction and just doing work, I felt like I did those things pretty well. And the only thing that I was lacking was knowledge of procedures or how to do certain nursing things that a new person wouldn't know how to do. Anyway, I need to stop with my rant. Can you tell I'm still irritated by it? So, okay. Yeah. So that was the hospital experience. It was awesome. I can't wait to go back. I don't think I would go back to med-surg. My goal moving forward is to do a different floor. So my plan right now, I did end up quitting the hospital after the pregnancy and miscarriage. I realized that I just wasn't physically ready to devote myself to nursing, because we do want another child. And while I admire other women for working full time and going to school and being pregnant and having kids, I am not equipped to handle that kind of stress. I've pushed myself to the brink of death, and I was suicidal for a long portion of my life. I'm never going back there. So for me, that means having to accept that there's some areas where I'm weaker than others. And it sucks, but it's just a fact. So I quit. I'm doing a wonderful job from home now that should allow me to finish my school. And then after that, I hope to either start back up work as an RN or go straight into my nurse practitioner program. So we'll see where it leads. I'm enrolled in some more prereqs in the fall, and then we'll apply to an RN program after those are completed. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with where things are, and I feel like the job I have now and doing school will be manageable if I get pregnant again. So yeah, it's good. I definitely still have my dream in mind, and I have everything planned out for what it will look like for me to get my nurse practitioner. And that is still the plan. It's just going to take some time. I wish I didn't even have to do the prereqs, but it is what it is. Yeah, so I'll be doing an online hybrid program. I'll post updates about that when we get there. But for now, that's pretty much the only update I'll have until the fall when I start classes. The only two things I have left is microbiology and pathophysiology. Because with a business degree, you don't have to take science classes like that. So I'll take those and then apply to the LPN to RN program. And hopefully I can give some updates on that. But until then, let me know if you have any other questions or if there's anything you're curious about. And I'll try and maybe post some more. I really love posting health videos, so maybe I'll do that. I'm not always the best person to talk about it because I lost 15 pounds in nursing school and then gained it back pretty quickly after the miscarriage. So there's that, but it's still a passion of mine. So I hope that you found something useful out of this, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me today.